Sunki, since you are going early, you
Mhm.
can read today. Yeah, read.
Yes. Yes. On the one side, then, presented to us as the reality, we have an absolute self-existence, an eternal soul self-being, and through the experience of the silent and inactive self, or the detached immobile Purusha, we can move towards this featureless and relationless absolute, negate the actions of the creative power, whether that be an illusory Maya or a formative Prakriti, pass from pass from all circling in cosmic ether into the eternal peace and silence, get rid of our personal existence, and find or lose ourselves in that sole true existence. On the other side, we have a becoming, which is a true movement of being, and both the being and the becoming are truth of one absolute reality. The first view is founded on the metaphysical conception, which formulates an extreme perception in our thought, an exclusive experience in our consciousness of the absolute as a reality void of all relations and determinations. That imposes that imposes as its consequence a logical and practical necessity to deny the word of relatives as a falsity of unreal being, a non-existent asat, or at least a lower and evanescent temporal and pragmatic self-experience, and to cut it away from the consciousness in order to arrive at liberation of the spirit from its false perceptions or its inferior creations. The second view is based on the conception of the absolute as neither positively nor negatively limitable. It is beyond all relations in the sense that it is not bound by any relatives or limitable by them in its power of being. It cannot be tied down and circumscribed by our relative conceptions, highest or lowest, positive or negative. It is bound neither by our knowledge nor by our ignorance, neither by our concept of existence nor by our concept of non-existence, but neither can it be limited by any incapacity to contain, sustain, create, or manifest relations. On the contrary, the power to manifest itself in infinity of unity and infinity of multiplicity can be regarded as an inherent force, sign, result of its very absoluteness, and this possibility is in itself a sufficient explanation of cosmic existence. The absolute cannot indeed be bound in its nature to manifest a cosmos of relations, but neither can it be bound not, not to manifest any cosmos. It is not itself a sheer emptiness, for a vacant absolute is no absolute. Our conception of a void or zero is only a conceptual sign of our mental inability to know or grasp it. It bears in itself some ineffable essentiality of all that is and all that can be. And since it holds in itself this essentiality and this possibility, it must also hold in itself, in some way of its absoluteness, either the permanent truth or the inherent, even if latent, realizable actuality of all that is fundamental to our or the world's existence. It is this realizable actuality, actualized or this permanent truth, deploying its possibilities, that we call manifestation and see as the universe.
Okay, so quite a complex para, and if you don't know the context, then we'll be puzzled. We'll be quite puzzled. But if you know the basic thing, then we will go sentence by sentence and see. Remember one thing: there is absolutely no absolute reality up to the highest level. There is going on changing a relative reality. We keep this in mind that when you go from the lowest to the highest, okay, the lowest in the inconscient is the absolute. There is no doubt about it. It's an absolute of darkness. But the moment life comes up, okay, and matter comes up, then the relativity starts. And the relativity goes on, right up to the overmind level. And beyond the overmind level in this overmind, again you have the absoluteness which is manifesting itself. Okay. So in between the overmind and the life element below, there is constantly a series of relativities which is going on mounting and becoming less relative. And as it keeps going up, there is more and more absolute. Okay, there is gradation, you remember. So in other words, you can't any one stage in the evolution upwards, you say that is the ultimate truth, you are completely mistaken. That is true only at that level. Okay, remember this most important thing, then many things become clear. Okay, so this is what Sridhar is discussing. So I'll do one thing. I'll read out the summary and then we'll go sentence by sentence, because we have to identify the words that Sridhar uses. Once we do that, it becomes quite clear. Okay, so now what he is saying in this paragraph, we are now going to look at various views of what the reality is. Okay, so all these theories, there is a materialist theory that says matter is only reality. There is a Mayavada theory which says Brahman is only reality. The rest is all not real. Then the Buddhists say that there is no reality at all. There is nothing. It's a shunyam. You go up and you disappear. The Mayavadins also say the same thing. Okay. Then the Gita says that there are 3 levels. So everybody is saying something different. So Sridhar is going, we will look at all the theories and examine them. Okay. Now, I continue with my summary. We are saying we are going to look at various views of what the reality is. One theory, based on the spiritual experience of the self, Brahman or Nirvana, is that there is a self-existence which is the only reality. The self-existence. What existence always means, the subtlest of substance. Remember that, huh? So, existence, if you want to make it absolutely clear to yourself, you must think of it as substance. Sridhar often uses the word substance for that. Okay. I also remind you that substance itself can be subtle, it can be a little more gross, and it can be absolutely gross. Okay. So the subtlest substance, Sridhar calls it existence. Then when it keeps coming down, the subtle substance starts becoming gross. So that is the substance. Okay. He calls it substance in the middle. And absolutely at the bottom, he calls it matter. Okay, which is the grossest of substance. There is a relativity. So this you keep in mind, many things become clear. Okay, so he's saying one theory based on the spiritual experience of the self or Brahman or Nirvana is that there is a self-existence which is the only reality. It can be reached by experience, by the consciousness rising into the silent, immutable, infinite featurelessness of the self. Okay, so this is the experience of the self, Brahman. Okay? It is a relationless absolute. It's just oneness. It's a oneness which is subtle but absolutely real. The rest is all unreal. When in that consciousness, we can see the world as an illusion, okay, an unreality. We can then get rid of, one second. We can then get rid of our personality in the world. So what is the personality? Your body, mind, life, and your ego. Okay? The ego disappears. Body, life, and mind are seen as transient formations that break and dissolve into that from which they came. Body goes back to matter, vital goes back to universal prana, mentality goes back to universal mind plane. Okay? This is one experience, and you say that Brahman consciousness, this subtle substance, is the only reality. Okay? Then, Sridhar continues. We can then discover ourselves to be the real person. And what is a real person? Individuality is there. Okay? Infinite consciousness. I am infinite consciousness. I am a portion of the Supreme. Like the Gita says, Amsha Sanatana. Okay? I am a part of the Supreme. or that real person can be negated and we may merge into an original source and completely lose even our individual existence. So, in other words, when you experience the Brahman, two types of possibilities are there. That substance which you are experiencing is absolutely real. Okay? But because it is featureless and infinite and eternal, you can also think of it as absolutely an emptiness. Okay? So that's it. That's it. Buddhistic philosophy. Okay? So he is examining one by one all the features. Now the second theory, the first theory is you go to this Sat and you experience in two ways. Either the substance is full of possibilities or it is absolutely empty. Now the next theory. The second theory is that of a supreme reality which creates both. Okay? It creates both. What does it create? It creates being. Being means static, infinite, eternal, featureless substance. Or it also creates becoming. There is being and becoming. This is the second theory. He is referring to the Sankhya philosophy. Okay? Being is static. Okay? Infinite, eternal, featureless. You can call it Purusha. And the becoming, the physical world where there's constant movement. Okay? Manifestation of finite forms in time and space and in eternal motion, which is the universe. You can call it Prakriti. So that's the second theory. The first theory of the absolute, the sole reality, without features, necessarily sees the universe as an illusion, or at best, a lesser reality in time. Okay? Shankara speaks of lesser reality. He says that there is an absolute reality at the higher level, and there is a lesser reality. And the lesser reality is in time. So you can speak of it as Shankara does. He says there is a Paramarthika Satta. Paramarthika. Supremely. That's the reality. Paramartha. Okay? Absolute reality. And the physical world is not unreal, but it is Vyavaharika Satta. Practical reality. Reality in time and space. These are other theories. So this is the third theory that Shakespeare is speaking about. First theory, you experience the Sat as the only reality, and that only reality can be absolutely full or absolutely empty. So you have two theories there with the experience of the nirvana. Okay. Then the second theory is the world is not unreal. You see it as real, but it's a lesser reality. Okay, third theory. Then a lesser reality in time and space, whose very nature is evanescence, transience, phenomenon. Man has to disengage himself from the universe and individually from his body, vital and mind, and merge into the reality of the self, Atman, Brahman. This is Shankaran philosophy. Okay? You want the divine, you have to go up. You can't get the divine fully in the lower. Okay? Partly you may get, because the divine is here also, is there, but he is hiding behind the forms. So that's his second. Now the second view of the absolute, which manifests both being and becoming, okay, both being realities. So everyone is calling it the second view, but actually the first view has got two branches. Huh? One is the absolute reality and one is the absolute negation, the Buddhistic theory. So this is the second view, which we are calling third view, is both are real. Okay? Purusha is real and Prakriti is real. So that's what he is discussing now. The third view of the absolute, which manifests both being and becoming, both being realities, is that it is utterly free, so free that it is not even bound by its own freedom. It can do whatever it wants. It can bind and tie itself into limited, fixed, and contrary knots of its own nature, of infinity, consciousness, power, and bliss. Okay? In other words, it can deny its own infinity, it can deny its own consciousness, it can deny its own power and bliss. Okay? Therefore, consciousness becomes unconsciousness, Ananda can limit itself into pain, suffering. Shakti can diminish itself into weakness. And this is how the Absolute creates a universe of finite and fleeting forms. So this is the Shankaran philosophy. That the Absolute Purusha is manifesting the Prakriti through his power. Okay? And this Absolute can be reached by some supreme negation. Supreme negation. Neti, neti. You go on saying to yourself, I'm not the body, I'm not the body, etc., etc. I am not the vital. This is the method of Jnana Yoga. Okay? Neti, neti. I am pure Brahman. If you remember, Shankara has a beautiful stotra, Nirvana Ashtakam. Ashtakam because it's got 8 verses. Okay. So, he says there, Mano Buddhi Ahankara Chittani Naham. I am not all these things. Then what am I? Chirananda Rupa, Shivoham, Shivoham. I am pure consciousness, Chit Ananda Rupa. I am a manifestation of that. Okay? So that's it. So now Selva continues the discussion. In this second view, where there is Purusha and Prakriti, the infinite featureless absolute is not a nihil, okay, which is in the Buddhistic philosophy. That's his first theory. First theory, part 2. Okay. Now he's saying, in the second view, where we have both, the physical world is real and the spirit also is real. Spirit is real, matter is real. The infinite featureless absolute is not a nihil. Okay? It is the infinite potentiality of all possibilities. This is something that the normal mind cannot grasp easily, but the image of the tree and the seed is relevant and helps the conception. Okay? This deploying of all possibilities is what we call the universe. Yes? That's what he said in this paragraph. Okay? So now we can go back to, what's the time? 18. Yeah, we've got plenty of time. We've got 20 minutes. So we can now go through, because I would like, my idea is that when you read Srivamdava on your own, you recognize each word and the level at which he is speaking, so that you can read on your own. Okay? You can't go on having these classes in eternity. So whatever I have, little knowledge I have gained, I am trying to pass it on to you. But you have to judge for yourself. Don't take it for granted that what I'm saying is necessarily true. Okay, you have to judge for yourself. What we are having here, it may help you, but that doesn't mean to say that is the only way. Because our understanding is mental, and mental understanding is always, always, always defective. Remember that. Okay, so, but still, it is slightly better than not understanding at all. Okay, so, I'm reading each sentence now. Okay. On the one side, okay, so next time he will, what is the other side? He will go on. Let me see. After 4 or 5 paras, he will go on to the other side. Okay. So right now he is discussing one side of the. You know, he's saying here on the one side, and then he'll go on explaining that for 4 or 5 paras. So if you look for what is the other side, you may have to go even to the next page or next, not page, sorry, next chapter. Okay. So that is why Srivamdava is so difficult to follow. Okay. As I told you, my mathematics professor, Dr. Venkatraman, he told me once in the class, he said that normally people write very simple sentences. Some people write sentence by sentence. I told you this before, very interesting, but it's very instructive. Then some people write paragraph by paragraph. Okay? They have an idea of what they are going to say, and then they write paragraph by paragraph. Sri Aurobindo writes chapter by chapter. Okay? He has a whole plan, and he goes on writing chapter by chapter. So in synthesis, for instance, you will see sometimes that he has mentioned something in chapter 5 or 6, and he will pick up the thread in chapter 20. Okay, it is that complicated. So you have to follow very carefully what he's saying. Okay, That's why we go stage by stage. We go phrase by phrase. So now I am reading the text, sentence by sentence, sometimes even phrase by phrase. So on the one side then, presented to us as a reality, we have an absolute self-existence. So remember, self-existence. Existence is subtle substance, subtlest substance. And it is absolute. What does absolute mean? It means there is one, there is absolutely uniformness, there is nothing else. Okay? There are no features, there are no colors, there are no nothing. It's all absolutely one. Wherever you go, it's the same thing. That's it, absolute. Okay? So, absolute self-existence. An eternal soul self-being. Okay? Only one thing is there, nothing else. And through the experience of the silent and inactive self, remember, silent and inactive self is the Brahman consciousness, or the silent mind. When you go there, you are not in movement at all. Your consciousness is absolutely static, and you are not acting in the physical world. Your body mind life is acting in the physical world, but your consciousness is not acting. Okay? The action in the body mind life is being initiated by Prakriti, universal matter. Your body is moving, you are talking, you are eating, you are sleeping, you are doing everything. Okay? But you are not doing. Your consciousness has gone out. That's the whole thing. Our consciousness, when we are at the level 1, we identify ourselves with body, mind, life, and that's why we think we are acting. Okay? But at the level 2, inactive self, the ego has disappeared. So there is no identification with body, mind, life, and you become static. Okay? Or the detached immobile Purusha, which can move towards this featureless and relationless absolute. Okay? So note, interestingly, one is the inactive self, and the other is the detached immobile Purusha. Okay? And we can move towards this featureless and relationless absolute, negate the actions of the creative power. Which is the creative power? Again, we are identifying the words. Creative power is necessarily nature. It is nature that is creating everything. Okay? At the higher level, nature is corresponding to Shakti. Purusha is corresponding to Chit. So Chit is powerless and Shakti is full of power, but sometimes it is without consciousness. And there is a gradation between both these. Consciousness can have power at the highest level. Consciousness has no power at the lower level. And in the middle, both are there. And power is there at the highest level with consciousness. And at the lowest level, power is there without consciousness. Okay? So there is a gradation between the two. Remember that. They are inversely proportional to each other. The more consciousness there is, the less power up to a certain level. At a spiritual level, at the supramental level, both are equal to each other. Okay? So he's saying, negate the actions of the creative power. Creative power, nature. Whether that be an illusory Maya or a formative Prakriti. So illusory Maya, theory 1, part 1. Okay? Formative Prakriti, theory 1, part 2. Okay? So remember, because in the part 1, the world is illusive. But in part 2, where you are experiencing yourself, there is formative Prakriti. It is real, but in time and space. Okay? Prakriti is forming forms, making forms, but they are not absolutely unreal. Okay? Pass from all circling in cosmic error into the eternal peace and silence. Get rid of our personal existence. Personal existence, again, identify personal existence in your body, mind, life. Okay? And find or lose ourselves in that soul true existence. Now he's saying find or lose. What does it mean? Find means you will find your true being. Okay? That means your true individuality, not the ego. Okay? When you experience a cosmic consciousness, someone is experiencing that. So that's a finding. Okay? Your individuality is there. You are finding the cosmic existence. or you may lose even that. So you become the infinite vacant. Okay, that's it. Losing ourselves in that soul true existence. Spiritual experience is not something fixed. Okay, it can vary. Each individual can have a different understanding. Why? Because the divine is infinite. Why should he manifest himself only in very fixed manners? It's not. He can manifest himself in 100,000 ways. So, and here also, Sri is
Dada,
very, yes, tell me.
here losing means that means it is he's saying about that nirvana, Dada. Losing
No,
means lose. No.
Not. In nirvana, there are two possibilities. Okay, one is that you have the true, you are experiencing the nirvana. So when you say someone is experiencing the nirvana, who is experiencing? Okay, if you say after you come back, you say I was in cosmic consciousness. Okay, who is the I? Not the ego, the true individuality. The true individuality which is infinite. But when that true individuality also disappears, okay, it becomes the absolute non-existence. Okay, let me give you two images, then you will understand. Okay, one is the wave and the sea. Okay, the wave in the beginning can say I am part of the sea. So that's the first one. Okay, in nirvana itself, the consciousness of the self. Okay, you can have two types of experiences. One, you are experiencing that I am in cosmic consciousness, but that I is not the ego. It's the infinite true individuality. And the true individuality is infinite. Okay. To explain the true individuality, I will again get you back. These images that I am giving you, remember. Otherwise, it becomes difficult to understand. Okay. I am trying to explain to you the true individuality. True individuality is a grain of salt. You take a grain of salt. It has got features. It has got form, shape, color, size, weight. Okay, that's our personality, body, mind, life. Our body also has got size, color, shape, weight, and size. Okay, but put that small grain of sand, of salt, into the sea. What happens? It disappears. Okay, it is featureless now. It is everywhere. But has the salt disappeared? Has the true individuality disappeared? No, it is there. It is there everywhere. That's a true individuality. But there is another case where even that saltiness disappears. You become the sea. Okay? Nobody is experiencing that. You become the sea. That's what I meant by losing yourself. Is that clear? It's a little subtle, but you have to understand.
Yes, Dada. Yes. Okay.
Yeah, you understood. Remember the images that I'm giving you, then it becomes clear. Okay? So find or lose ourselves in that truth. Finding is the true individuality is finding that I am in a cosmic consciousness. Or losing even your existence. Nobody is experiencing. You have become the experience itself. Okay, that's what it means. I go to the next sentence. Now you see what they saying on the other side. So in this one para only, he examined one side. Now he is examining the other side. Okay, and what is the other side? We have a becoming, which is a true movement of being. In first one, he has discussed two possibilities that the world is unreal. Now he is saying we'll examine the other theory where there is the physical world is not unreal. That's the Sankhya philosophy as well as Shankaran philosophy. Okay, so on the other side, we see how interestingly you have to note very carefully. He has said one side in the beginning. Then as soon as he says one side, other side, you now know that he is talking of the other part. So be very careful about the words and then you'll be able to follow what he's saying. So now we're examining the opposite. Okay? We have a becoming. Which is the becoming? This physical world, and becoming means movement. That which is in motion all the time. Level 1. Okay? Level 2 is always without motion. It is featureless, static. Okay? But level 1 is full of movement and becoming. Okay? When you say being and becoming, being means static, absolutely without any movement at all. immutable, and the becoming is the mutable in the physical world. Everything is moving, okay, including stones. Okay, you think that they are not changing, but they are changing. But a very slow change. There can be a very fast change, and there can be a very slow change. Okay, stones, the change is very slow. Okay, sun, rain, wind is going to slowly deteriorate. It is going to destroy that stone. Even the Himalayas are going to disappear one day. It is said, science says that even the sun will disappear one day, but it may take million years. So everything, a small butterfly disappears in 1 week, okay, and the Himalayas will disappear in million years, maybe. And there are trees which get destroyed in 400 years, 500 years. There are huge trees which grow and also disappear. So that is what becoming. Becoming means that. Okay, are truths of the one absolute reality. So spirit and matter both are real. There is a second theory in examining. In the first theory, there were two parts, if you remember. The substance is absolutely real and contains everything. And the other one is, it is so featureless that I can say that it is nothing at all. Okay, that's the second theory. Now we come to the theory where Purusha and Prakriti, okay, spirit and matter both are real. One is real in time and space, and the other is real outside time and space. Okay. One is the absolute reality, and the other is a practical reality. Okay. There is another way of looking at things. The same thing can be looked at in so many different ways. That's what he's discussing. So he's warning you that don't think that what you are experiencing is the absolute reality. That absolute reality only at the supramental level. Okay. There you begin to understand the nature of things. And remember also that even beyond the supermind, there are things which nobody has examined yet, so we don't know. But the divine being infinite, it goes on and on and on. So, Srinath discusses this theory also. Okay, he says in Life Divine elsewhere that can we say that supermind also is only a phase? He says yes, it can be a phase. There can be evolution beyond the supermind, but the basic character of things is revealed in the supermind. I go now to the next sentence, or rather continue with the sentence. On the other side, we have a becoming, that is movement, the physical world, which is a true movement of being. It's true, it's not false. The first theory, it is false, it's an illusion. Now it is not an illusion anymore. Okay? It is true, but in time and space. And both the being and the becoming are truths of one absolute reality. Sankhya philosophy and Shankaran philosophy. The first view is founded on the metaphysical conception which formulates an extreme perception in our thought, an exclusive experience of our consciousness of the absolute as a reality void of all relations and determinations. That imposes as its consequence a logical and practical necessity to deny the world of relativities as a falsity of unreal being, a non-existent asat, or at least a lower and evanescent, temporal and pragmatic self-experience, to cut it away from the consciousness in order to arrive at the liberation of the spirit from its false perceptions or its inferior creations. Now look at also false perceptions. The theory 1, part 1, false perceptions. The physical world is absolutely real. Or inferior creations. That is the second theory. The creations are not unreal, but they are relatively unreal, relatively real. Inferior creations. Okay. The second view, the first view is that the second view is based on the conception of an absolute as neither positively nor negatively limitable. Okay. So there is a Shankaran philosophy. It is beyond all relations in the sense that it is not bound by any relativity or limitable by them in its power of being. Okay. This is the second theory. I'm just giving you a little bit of a foresight. Okay, I'm just telling you. The Sri Aurobindo philosophy says you have to go to the third level. and that which appears to be false in the middle view, the physical world is false, or even partly false, actually behind the form, the reality is hiding. That's Srinivas's third theory. Okay, he goes beyond the first two theories. So the second view is based on the conception of an absolute as neither positively nor negatively limitable. Okay? In other words, you cannot say in this second view, the second theory, that the divine is necessarily positive only. He is omniscient, omnipotent, omnipresent, nor negatively limitable. In other words, he can be limited, but that limitation is also not absolute. He can become what he wants to be. He can negate himself. Negatively limitable means he is not. The negativity is not. He cannot become negative. It's not that. He can become negative if he wants. It is beyond all relations, the second theory, in the sense that it is not bound by any relativities or limitable by them in its power of being. It cannot be tied down and circumscribed by our relative conceptions. Relative conceptions, all in the human mind. Highest or lowest, positive or negative. It is bound neither by our knowledge nor by our ignorance. Neither by our concept of existence nor by our concept of non-existence. This is Srinivas philosophy, and it's also the Isha Upanishad philosophy. The third level includes both. If you get stuck at the first level, second level, if you get stuck at the first level, you are a materialist. Matter is only reality. If you get stuck at the second reality, the Brahman is the only reality, matter is unreal. But you go to the third level, Isha Upanishad, as well as Srinivas, also Gita also is the same, third level, then both are real. Okay, that's what we're saying. So there is relativity which goes on changing as you keep rising higher and higher and higher. That's the whole thing. So if put that way, it's easy to understand. But neither can it be limited by any incapacity to contain, sustain, create, or manifest relations. On the contrary, the power to manifest itself in infinity of unity and infinity of multiplicity can be regarded as an inherent force, sign, result of its very absoluteness. It is so absolute that it can be limited by nothing at all. It can become whatever it wants, total freedom. It is not even bound by its freedom. That's what Srinivas says. And this possibility is in itself a sufficient explanation of cosmic existence. The absolute cannot indeed be bound in its nature to manifest a cosmos of relations. They are denying the Mayavada theory. They are saying that the absolute is bound only to its own. The rest is all unreal. So, cannot indeed be bound in its nature to manifest a cosmos of relations. But neither can it be found not to manifest any cosmos. Those who go to the higher levels of consciousness say it cannot create anything. It is absolute and cannot create anything. That also simultaneous. It is not itself a sheer emptiness. Okay, that emptiness we discussed, level 1 in the Brahman consciousness, that which you are experiencing as featureless, immutable, can be an emptiness or it can be a fullness. Okay, so that's a difference. The emptiness is the Buddhistic philosophy and the fullness is the Advaita philosophy. Okay, it seems to be featureless and immutable, but it contains all possibilities. Okay? So, very clear, you can understand what is said. For a vacant absolute is no absolute at all. It's a contradiction in terms. Our conception of a void or zero is only a conceptual sign of our mental inability to know or grasp it. We think of it as an absolute, the Buddhist theory, because you are still in the mind region. Remember that Srinivas calls even the spiritual planes of consciousness only mental regions. Only when you go to the Up to the overmind, Sridhar calls it the mental regions. Okay. Or he also calls it the ideal planes of consciousness. Here are the words he uses. So we must be very clear as to which word he's saying, what he's saying. Ideal planes, spiritual planes, mental planes, level 2. Level 3, you have gone beyond the ideal planes, you have gone beyond the mental range. You are in the supermental. That's why he doesn't like the word supermental. He says truth consciousness and gnosis, Gnosis. Because if you say supramental, you can interpret it as above the mind. Okay, so that he denies. Okay, so we have already come to 8:41. So we'll have to stop now. So maybe a little more, and we can finish that tomorrow. Okay, so we are in the middle of the para. The absolute cannot indeed be bound. So page 664. So I'll just make a note because Kunti is not there. First of all, I'll write that. So now I'm stopping the recording. Okay, and I'm wishing all of you a very happy day. Okay. Today is
Thank you, Dada.
okay. Today is Aurobill inauguration.
Yes. Thank you, Rangada.
Okay.
Au revoir.
Thank you, Dada.
Au revoir, everybody. Au revoir.